Welcome to the Buckeye Revival podcast series, hosted by the Walk Foundation. I'd like to give a shout out to one of our supporters today, Rock City Church. Their mission is to make heaven full, and we appreciate their support of Ohio State football players sharing about their faith in Jesus Christ. Today, we're here with Ohio State linebacker Payton Pierce. Welcome to the show, Payton.
Glad to be here. Good to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too. Today, another new game that we're going to play for our viewers here. We're going to do Inside the Locker Room.
Oh, man.
So,
all right.
First question I have for you is, who is most likely to become CEO of a Fortune 500 company?
Most likely to become CEO of a Fortune 500 company? Oh, that's a good question. Cody Simon. I could see him doing something in that business world. He's really smart, and he's kind of like the leader, CEO type of guy. So he would, and I think he likes putting suits on. Don't tell him I said that, but yeah, I could see him doing that.
Who's most likely to become president of the United States?
Man, that's a good question. Man, I don't know. James Peoples is always talking about being the president. I don't know how we end up there, but yeah, I mean, I don't really know anyone. Man, I'd probably just say James because he's always like trying to act like the president. Right? But
I was gonna say, I feel like James has like that $1 million smile. So
yeah,
he could,
he's
like,
always like
he could just like his pearly whites man right up there as a president. I could totally see it.
He's good on camera. Yeah, that'd be good.
We had him in actually week one of this podcast series. And
yeah, so that's right.
Can definitely see it. Who's the best dancer on the team?
The best dancer? Oh man. Yeah, all the DBs are good dancers. I'd probably say I can tell you who's not is me. Oh, Garrett Stover. Garrett Stover's a sleeper. Yes, he knows how to dance really well. It's really weird, but it's pretty funny. Like he can dance. He's super athletic, so it's like really funny watching him dance. But yeah, I'd probably say Garrett actually.
I would not have thought of Garrett, to be
No,
honest.
I know it's actually crazy.
Sleeper pick though.
Yes, our linebacker room has seen him dance a lot, and it's pretty good.
With this being a faith-based podcast, who's most likely to be found at the Woody with a Bible in their hand?
G he always G and Trey probably they always have a Bible. They literally always have a Bible in their hand. So I guess they win that argument. Yeah.
What is one thing about Coach Day that we don't know about?
One thing, he loves bagels. He's like a big bagel guy. I swear. Yeah.
Does he have a go-to spot?
It's something bagels. There's some bagel shop.
Is it Barry's Bagels?
I think it's Barry's.
Barry's is really good, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not for sure what kind of bagels it is, but he gets really excited when those bagels come into the nutrition room.
Can you give us one Coach Mick story?
One Coach Mick story. Man, there's a lot of Coach Mick stories. This week he started laughing at me because he's always messing with the players and stuff, so it's good. Like he's got really good connections with all the guys. He actually, I'll tell you a fun fact. He plays the drums. If like he'll go to like actual like performances and like play the drums. So it's like every time there's like a song on, he's like doing his little thing. It's pretty funny. It's great.
That's so cool because he's been in the program for a long time. So I never knew the drummer.
I know.
He's a drummer at heart, huh?
I know, it's crazy. He's a musician. So it's really interesting.
Those are some great insights from inside the locker room. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll move on to your story. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, what life was like there, and your transition now to playing football at Ohio State?
Yeah, man, I grew up in Dallas, Texas, born and raised there. My family's originally from Oklahoma, but both my mom and dad ended up moving to Dallas from Oklahoma, and then met each other. So, growing up in Texas was really fun. It was a little warmer there, but we did a lot of grew up playing like just fishing every day, playing football. Like it was just football, fishing, hanging out with the buddies outside. We weren't like the kids that would kind of play video games. We were more the type of guys to go outside. So like all day we were just either throwing the football, fishing, playing street hockey with a lacrosse ball. Like it was something new every day. And luckily enough, I had on my street growing up, I think we had just on our street we had like 14 boys in like a 5-year age gap. All live on the street, so we were all like best friends with each other, and some of them are still my closest friends today. And they're all really, really big followers of Jesus and stuff. So it's crazy just seeing how far we've come from there. But I grew up in Allen and then moved to Lovejoy my sophomore year, and that was a change. And I really liked Lovejoy. It was a fun time, and we played a lot of football there. I missed some games from some injuries my junior year, but beside that, like my senior year and sophomore year were extremely fun, just playing football with your boys and like just having a blast. And we were really close, especially with our coaching staff too. So it's like, and then end up coming here like halfway through my senior year, graduated early, and I've been a part of the Brotherhood since then. It's been great.
Yeah, so when in your football career did you start to think like, man, I might be able to play like D1 football?
Well, I originally played quarterback, so I was about eighth grade, ninth grade. I started kind of getting recruited a little bit for quarterback, so I was like, man, I think I can really do this. And then my plan was to, I was gonna try to be the ninth grade quarterback team at Allen, like the ninth grade quarterback. And then our coach, I played both. I played linebacker and quarterback in middle school growing up, and our head coach was like, "Hey, like, if you want to play linebacker, we need a spot on the varsity team." And no one had ever, been on the varsity team as a freshman, so I was like, "Oh, I got to do it." And then, it was kind of rest was history after that. But it was, I'd definitely say it was like that point, just. After playing, that freshman year at linebacker, I was like, I think I'm going to stick with playing linebacker. I'm a little too impatient playing quarterback. I like to hit people a little bit more, so you don't get to do that much at quarterback.
Do you think that Texas has the best high school football?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's not even a question. Our stadium at Allen when I was growing up was like 20,000 people. I mean, it's nuts. It's different. It's definitely special though. It reminds me of Ohio State football here, but on the high school level.
Mm-hmm. Have you been to a high school football game in Ohio yet?
Yes, I went to Big Walnut's game with my roommate Garrett, and they actually packed it out. It was a good game. Like it reminded me of Texas. Like I was very, very impressed. And he said it's not the highest. Like Big Walnut's not even the highest level. So they brought the whole town out for that game, and it reminded me of home. So it was good to see that.
So you mentioned some injuries that you had while in high school. I think you might even have one maybe at the end of your senior year too that you were rehabbing. Just what was it like just going through the rehab process of those injuries?
High school, it was a little rough for me. Like just being recruited. Luckily enough, I played well enough in the games that I did play in my junior year to not it affect my recruiting. But it was really frustrating, especially I had a hamstring injury, and it just was like I could never get back from it, and I didn't really understand why. But then I kind of realized like maybe that was God's plan not to play my junior year, and I had a lot happen that junior year that kind of opened my eyes for things. And then this past year really was the hardest injury I've ever had. I tore it's called a Lisfranc. It's a really rare injury, and it's like you have your bones in your feet, and it's the tendons connected like a bridge. And it was the last quarter of my last high school game. We were losing, and I ended up like it was, there was no point of me even being in the game, but it was my last high school game, and I was playing quarterback, and I caught the snap, and I was running, and it was on the 1 yard line, and I went to punch it in the goal line, and I just got hit by like 3 dudes on my foot. I felt like it like snapped, but I tore one of the like tendons in my feet. And so when that happens, your bones separate, long story short, they were just going to let it heal normally. So I had to move halfway across the country on a scooter. So I was on. So like when I got to Ohio State, I was on a scooter, that was a fun era. That was very interesting. So like when all the guys got here, I was just scootering around, like following them, and I had this cast. And it came about spring ball time to get like my cast off and start to like walk, and it like wasn't really progressing. And so they took an X-ray of my foot, and my bones were still like separated even more, meaning like my tendon didn't heal properly or whatever. So I had to get surgery after letting it heal for 3 months. Like I went the no surgical route, and it didn't work. So I had to restart the whole process, and that was just so super duper frustrating for me. That whole first semester, because the whole reason I came early was to play spring ball, and I missed it, and then I didn't get back till like probably like mid July, but I learned a ton there, and I think that's probably one of the best things that's happened in my life since having that surgery.
Athletes going through injuries is, of course, common, but it's really difficult. It's really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
I played tennis in college and broke my elbow.
Tennis elbow, or I don't know if that's.
Well, I actually broke it playing basketball.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was my right elbow, which is my strong arm, and it was really difficult. But the question that I have for you is, what would your advice be to an athlete that has just suffered an injury? What would your advice be on how to manage and cope with that?
Well, I didn't personally. I don't think I did a very good job of that. When I did it, like I felt super super frustrated and almost like felt sorry for myself. Like I didn't like care. And then I started talking with like Trey and stuff, and that's kind of through his foot injury. I don't know if he's talked about that with y'all, but kind of how he found Jesus. And I was a follower previously, but I was kind of, really far away from that. And after my second surgery, and, especially this past summer, just every week getting more and more frustrated, I just, would talk with some of these guys on our team and realize like your foundation and identity shouldn't be in Jesus, or shouldn't be in football or playing on the field. And kind of came to realize that, like, especially this summer, just felt like God was telling me that, like to rely on him. And I was super frustrated. And then I found myself, talking to, if I would have never got hurt, I probably would have been trying to do things on my own and stuff. And so I found myself talking to Trey and G and all these guys on our team who are, Christ followers, and realizing that like I can't do this alone, and I don't know how anyone could. And so like that's what I slowly started doing, was like talking with them, starting to read my Bible, like a Bible verse every day, and then taking notes at night. And it's really like changed my life. So like my advice for anyone who's like going through an injury is like to stay positive, like, in that, sports isn't say all end all. Like it's, it's great, and it's half the reason we're here is for football, but at the end of the day, it's not really about football. It's about, your relationship with other people and your relationship with God and stuff. And so just have encouragement that things will get better, and there's always a reason for everything.
So what I'm hearing is that in high school you were a believer,
Mm-hmm.
but you feel like your relationship with Christ kind of changed and got stronger once you kind of got to Ohio State. When you committed to Ohio State, where did you think that aligned with your faith? Did you believe that even Ohio State could really support you in your Christian faith? Because you're from Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohio is a lot different than Texas.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty cool story, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, which I haven't really thought about this until like now. But so when I went on a visit to Ohio State, and I knew that this was the place I wanted to go to. You could feel it when you're here. Like the brotherhood is just so strong, and you get so many great things out of Ohio State. And I knew it was going to be far, but there were still other schools that I really liked and wanted to go to. And so I took my visit to Ohio State, and I really enjoyed it. It was probably like it was like my top 1 or 2 or 3. Like it was kind of a coin toss, and then my very best friend Sam, he like I want to say it was like a week, maybe 2 weeks later, he ended up getting diagnosed with leukemia. So it was like really weird timing, and I was like looking at my schedule, because like I just didn't know like what I felt like Ohio State, like God was like telling me like Ohio State was the play. Like I don't know, I just had this like feeling that that's kind of where I was supposed to be. And after hearing that news and like talking to him, he lives right next to me, like he's my exact neighbor that lives next to me, and I've known him since like first, second grade, and he's my wrestling partner. Like so he's my best friend, so he's like my wrestling partner. He was my center, and when I played quarterback. He was at Allen, moved to Lovejoy with me to the house right next to me. And so that happens, and he was my wrestling partner, and he won state. He ended up becoming, I'll get to that in a second, but he won state his junior year, and probably had cancer during that time, and he got diagnosed like 2 weeks later, which was like when I was taking these visits. And but long story short, I was talking to my parents, and we saw my schedule, and it was like every weekend I was leaving to go on a visit to, Tennessee and Oklahoma and Florida State and Notre Dame. And I was like, man, I feel like I need to be here for Sam, and go see him. And things started aligning, and I felt like Ohio State was the place for me. So like, I felt like God really told me to go to Ohio State. And so long story short, Sam he actually ended up recovering from that, like the fastest. The doctor said it was like the fastest they've ever seen someone like recover from that, because he was just so like motivated to beat it, and he ended up beating it. And it was a long summer. It was during summer, like just watching it happen. I could only go see him about once a week, or he'd be like super sick where he didn't want to really see people. Long story short, he recovers and ends up playing like halfway through our senior season, which they thought he would, probably wouldn't ever get to play football again or whatever. And he ended up playing like our 6th game, which was like nuts. And then after that, ended up winning, like when I was back at Ohio State this past like March, he ended up winning state again in wrestling after overcoming cancer, which is just crazy. So he's a 3-time state champion. It's nuts. And he went undefeated after that. It's a crazy story.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And the Bible says, no greater love than this, than to lay down your life for a brother.
Yep.
And there's, of course, different ways to interpret that. I feel like sometimes that doesn't always have to be literal though. Mm-hmm. So like in your case, laying down the opportunity to visit Tennessee and some of the other top schools in the country, to be there for your brother. I think that's a great example there of, being obedient in your faith and your walk with the Lord, and, being there for your brother. And I'm sure that's something that he will never forget. And I'm sure that, you won't either.
I'll never forget what he did. It's crazy.
That's an amazing testimony. Another question I have for you is, what was it like? What was church life like in Texas?
Another thing, like just crazy how God works in mysterious ways. Growing up, when I was in 2nd grade, my best friend moved to the house across the street from me, Caleb Lyles, and his dad was a pastor, and he had 4 brothers, so it was like he and Caleb, my best friend, was the middle one. He had 2 older, 2 younger, and they were all like 2 years apart. So like I became really good friends with them, and so like they were my very best, like my second family, and like I still talk to their dad every day. And long story short, we end up start going to their church, and I kind of grew up it was called Allen Bible Church, and we were just a non-denominational Bible church, and Caleb's dad was the pastor buddy, and he's one of the funniest guys I've ever met. He was our Little League basketball coach too. So, and that whole like group of guys that I mentioned that grew up on our street all went to that. We all ended up just going to that church, and we were like the youth group, and it was awesome. Like from fourth grade to my senior year, just growing up with those guys, and we ended up going to it's called Pine Cove. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's like a church camp, and that was really big for me. That's where like I accepted Jesus back in 5th grade, and it was his dad, recommended us to go to it, and so that whole friend group, we went every summer for every year. We didn't go COVID year, but we went every year. It was like our thing every summer, and so it was the most fun I've ever had, and that was kind of like just our community. But yeah, man, church has been great back home.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that, at least being in Ohio, churches are obviously all over Ohio as well, but especially in the city of Columbus, it's just not as much, it's not as popularized and just not as common as, in Texas. It's like, oh, everybody goes to church on Sunday. It's part of the culture.
Yeah, it's what you do. Yeah.
But in Ohio, it's like if you're going to church on Sunday, it's normally because you actually you are a follower of Christ. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so are you at a church now? Like what does it look like for you to follow Christ like today as a freshman at Ohio State?
Yeah, like when I first got here, I was just so far away from God. I think it was just from just being a high school, slowly started just kind of distancing from God, but God would bring me back in, with things with Sam and stuff. And I felt like I was so far from God when I got here with my injury, just feeling sorry for myself and stuff. And guys like Trey and G started inviting us to one church, and I started going, and then I started going by myself, like without and bringing guys with me, like go with James Peoples and Jalen McClain, like we'll all bring guys, and that's what we started doing. And then we've slowly kind of built like a group together, and then we got all those guys baptized at one church, and then had the whole event on campus. It's just crazy how fast the Holy Spirit spreads and stuff, and it spread to me, and I couldn't thank those guys enough. So yeah, we go to one church, but a lot of the time we have practice on Sundays, so we don't really get to go to church. So we have a reflection hour, which we get 30 minutes before our meetings on Sundays. That's why we don't get to go to church, because we have practice on Sundays, and Sundays we'll do a reflection. We'll have someone speak, just kind of have a little mini church service, and it's turned into we had the reflection, and Trey and G were like, maybe we should do a little worship before. So we do worship, and then we get to listen to a whole message about whoever's speaking that day. G spoke 2 weeks ago, but it's crazy. It's in our team meeting room for the football team, and 75% of our team shows up, and a lot of our coaches come, and it's pretty unbelievable.
Wow, that's amazing. It's probably not very often around the country that 75% of the team would show up for worship on a day of practice, but that's just amazing to hear.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So you're in the linebacker room. James Laurenitis is your coach.
Yeah.
What do you think of James Laurenitis? He's also a man of faith. How has it been working with him?
It's been good. He's he'll play on Sundays or whatever day it is. It's such a football is so stressful, and you're just under so much pressure. So we get in meetings, sometimes he'll play worship music while we're listening, and he leads our prayer before the game and stuff. But it's good. But Laurenitis, he's funny. I don't know. I mean, most people probably know, but he's like a goofball. It's fun having him. He's another one of the players. He gets along with everyone, and he's super clear on explaining things, and it's great to have him. We have a lot of fun in the linebacker room, with Sonny and Cody and CJ and Gay, just everybody. And so it's we have a lot of fun, and I couldn't be happier with any other group. And so we're super close too, and he's done a really good job of bringing us together and stuff. And finally, we got our own linebacker room. I guess they had to meet in the defensive staff room. They didn't have their own linebacker room, but we've got one now, and we have a lot of fun. So it's great having them.
What's it like playing for Coach Knowles?
It's very it's good. It makes you better. There's a lot of I wouldn't say it's pressure. It's he expects, perfection, and so that's what we're reaching every day. And when you don't meet that, you're gonna get called out on it. And I just think it makes everybody better. Like if you have a coach that's not wanting to talk to you or coach you up and change what you're doing that's wrong, it's probably not a good sign. And we definitely get a lot of tips and reminders and trying to be the best you possibly can be. And so it's definitely not easy, but it's not supposed to be. So I like it.
I'd love if you could take us through a Buckeye game day. Like, what's like your favorite part of a Buckeye Saturday?
Oh man, I really like the pre, I don't know, man. I like it all. I'm trying to think of what my favorite part is. Now you say that.
It's like a full day of fun because you're just like, it all builds up to the game.
Yeah,
I mean,
I could walk you through it. So we wake up. There's so many traditions, and it's so fun. Like we wake up. Say we have like a noon kickoff. We wake up in the hotel. We eat breakfast, and then like at like 9:30 or whatever, we all we meet before the games, and all the position groups will meet at the top of the elevator, and like one position group will come down at a time. So when the linebackers come down, we all come down together on the elevator. When we get out the elevator, all the coaches, they call it the hype tunnel, and they're blasting music, and we go out there and we run through them, and we start like shoving each other and stuff, and it gets everyone juiced up for the meetings and stuff. And then we drink our championship water, which they just have like a water, and you chug it before the game. Everyone's got to chug it, and it's pretty great. And then after that, we have our meetings, and then we leave for the stadium, and we drive like back through like where the frat houses are and stuff, and everyone's out there like cheering us on. It's pretty sweet. Like you drive down the street and everyone's on the side, and sometimes you'll get the fans from the other team, booing you and stuff, but it's pretty cool. And then you drive up to the stadium, and you get out, and you get to do the whole like walk. I don't know if y'all have been to the Skull Session, and you get to, and it's packed with people and stuff. So the Skull Session's great. You get a coach that gets to go up there and talk, and then a player talk, get the crowd hyped up and stuff, and then walk down to the stadium. They give us a lucky Buckeye, get to talk to your parents, and then it's game on from there. You get warm up and ready to go.
I didn't know that you guys so you drive back like through campus, like through the campus houses, just like build the hype, or what?
Yeah, we're like down on High Street at a hotel, and then we kind of like go through the city and then back around. Like we take the long trip, but it's like right through campus, and everyone's on the side of the road, and like everyone's outside at the frat parties and stuff, and they're hyping us on. It's pretty sweet.
That's awesome. Last part before the game, you guys, of course, run out of the tunnel. What was it like that very first home game when you were coming out of the tunnel and you just see, the horseshoe filled with fans?
Well, like we go out there before, like in warm-ups, and it was like 50% full, and I was like, man, this is pretty sweet. Like looking up, and the stadium's huge, and during warm-ups, I'm like, man, I'm kind of getting distracted. And then we go back in, do our stuff, and then run out for the game. And like when I'm going down in the tunnel, you just hear like the roar of everyone, and I'm kind of in the middle, so I couldn't really like see it that well. And then the band starts playing, we run out, and it was just unbelievable, like seeing just like a sea of red around you. It was one of the coolest feelings of my life. But I was a little nervous. I was like, dang, this is sweet though. And it was awesome, and I spotted my parents somehow in the stands, so it was good.
I always like to ask our guests this. What do you like to do in your free time? What does Payton Pierce like to do?
Well, back home, I mean, we do a lot of fishing and just hanging out with friends. But here, me and my roommate, he's very creative on getting us to do stuff, and so we always find something to do. Garrett he lives pretty close to here in Sunbury, so today we're gonna go to Spirit Halloween and get some Halloween outfits. But he's always got something we can do. And when we go to his house, he's got like 4-wheelers and anything you could imagine. He has it, like, because he kind of lives on a farm or whatever, and he's got like tractors, 4-wheelers, got a pond, got a basketball court. It's actually swimming. It's unbelievable. So we'll have like all the teammates out and just like hang out there, and it's actually so much fun. And then we'll golf. Obviously, I'm not really that, like, I couldn't golf this summer because of my foot. So like everyone on our team, you guys know that they're like huge golfers. So I think I'm gonna get into that more next year when I can actually go out there on the field and play.
What's your favorite Bible verse, or do you have a life verse?
Isaiah 43:2 says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you." And I think that's like been like exactly how my life has been since I've been here. Like, there's been some times where like I feel like God's almost, let me, like, not beat me down to my knees, but like, taking me to more of a lower place in my life to realize like I need to rely on him. And that's been really big for me. And I think it's so great just having the people around you help you with that. And I think I've come to realize like just having a community and people who care for you are just so huge. So like as Christians, I think it's just really important to be that for someone. And that's what I'm starting to figure out is like it's so easy to just worry about yourself and stuff. But we have guys on our team who are the most like unselfish guys I've ever met. Like I sent G a text this morning to ask him a question, and he sent me like a entire paragraph thing explaining. I was just asking him about an analogy, and it's just crazy how much like willingness they have to help you. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So how is it so you have these guys on your team that you can look up to as like leaders, also like on the field, but also in their faith.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? I would say, how do they help build you up and turn you back to the word to be able to truly like find where your foundation is? Because there's just so much pressure that comes with like being a football player.
Yeah. I think it's really, sometimes it's hard for football players like us to just get rooted back into the word, because you're just so like consumed with how you perform in football and daily life and being cool and social media and stuff. And especially our leaders on our team that are followers are so good at like bringing that into daily life. Like we'll be in the hot tub. This is what I texted G about. Is like we'll be in the hot tub, and he made this whole hot tub analogy like about being a Christ follower. He's really good at it. And so we're like sitting in the hot tub, and he's like, I don't know, this is the analogy. I'll try to do my best to explain it, but it's like there's a hot tub, and this massive hot tub with no like edges or whatever, and there's a board that's across the hot tub, and it's like following Christ is walking on that board. And when you and below you the hot water is like sin. And like when you get in the hot tub, it feels good. And so like whenever you're a Christ follower and you start feeling you're cold and you feel the hot, and you're like, oh man, I want to jump in there a little bit. And you jump in there and you start like, it feels good, but you're sitting there for a while, and it's like, it's starting to burn a little bit, and you're fit. Like you don't feel very good if you sit in the hot tub for 45 minutes, but it feels good if you sitting there for a little bit. And so like he was trying to explain like that's kind of what sin is like. And for people who aren't, Christ followers, it's like trying to get out of that hot tub, but there's no board to climb back up on. And so like being a Christ follower is like, sometimes your foot might dip into that hot tub, but you have that board to pull yourself back up. And, get back on track. And that's exactly what it's like. I don't know. That's stuck for me. I don't know if it will stick for other people, but it's just little things like that. Like they make so many good analogies, and we'll be in the hot tub just talking about the Bible and stuff. And I've learned so much, through them, and so have the other players on our team that you guys know about. So it's pretty crazy, honestly. But it's great. They're always trying to find way. Like even with the music we play in the locker room, like it's walked in today and there's worship music playing. It's just like every day they're always, you can feel the Holy Spirit in our building, definitely.
Do you have any favorite Christian artists?
Do you guys know Chris Tomlin?
Mm-hmm.
So he I want to say his sister who is basically, sorry, weird story. So we have like this pals thing for a high school. I don't know if you guys have that. Like you have like a pal, and mine was his name's Reed. He's a little guy. And he's like one of my like best friends. He's like 8 years old or however old he is, and he was in first grade or whatever. And he was my pal, and I'd see him every day, and kind of he needed help with things, and I was kind of like his helper. Long story short, his mom is brothers with Tomlin, and so it's she's gonna try to get us tickets to, he's gonna play in Columbus in a little bit, I think sometime in December. So it's just crazy how those worlds connect. But yeah, I mean they're starting to find a lot of like Christian rappers that they're starting to play, or like more like pop Christian music for the locker room, because sometimes like get hyped for practice, it's hard, like with slower worship music and stuff, and they like Maverick City. There's a ton of people there. They're good at finding, and there's some really good songs.
Oh man, this has been an amazing episode, Payton. You are the man. I'd love to thank our sponsor for this episode, Rock City, again. Just thank you for your support. But man, Payton, you've been awesome, and thanks so much for coming on Buckeye Revival.
Appreciate you guys. It's great. Thank you.